This movie may have had a limited release in November, but it had a wide release in January, so I'm considering it a 2017 movie. And even though it had a wide release in January, our theater in town, we didn't get it until the first week of February. So on Saturday, when the choices to see a movie were Rings and The Space Between Us, which is the same writer as Collateral Beauty, which is a film I didn't like but haven't reviewed yet, or a film that's nominated for Best Picture, I think the choice was clear. So Lion is based off of a true story about a 5-year-old boy from India. His family is pretty much living in a shanty town, living in poverty and struggling to survive. So the young boy named Saru and his brother, they try to do whatever they can to help the family and help them get food to survive. So one fateful nighttime adventure, Saru gets separated from his brother. He falls asleep on a decommissioned train, and the train takes off. I think for about 3 or 4 days he is trapped on this train that keeps going for miles and miles away from his home. And eventually this 5-year-old boy gets lost and all alone in a big city of Calcutta. To make a long story short, eventually he gets adopted by 2 parents in Australia, so he's sent even further away from his home, where he's raised by these Australians and lives about 25 or 20 years in Australia. But about 20 years in Australia pass, and suddenly he gets visions and memories from his past and becomes haunted by the fact that he doesn't know where his original home is, never found his mother or his brother, and he gets haunted by these memories and gets trapped between the life he has now and the life he had in the past, and trying to figure out where he came from. And so the movie takes focus on his journey, on his search for where he came from. Now I have to say, I am finally glad I got to see this movie because, like I said, it didn't come out during its limited release in November in any of our theaters in town. And I feel the only reason our theater finally got to show it is because it is nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture. And when movies are nominated for Best Picture, suddenly our theaters like to show them because there is a huge group of people that just want to see all the movies nominated for Best Picture for the Oscars, so that when they see the Oscars they can have their opinion on those nominees. And I have to say, I have almost nothing bad to say about Lion. It is an amazing, phenomenal film. So what did I love about it? Well, the acting for sure is amazing from everyone, even the side characters and even the characters that we don't get a lot of depth. Everyone did an amazing job. Even all the kid actors did really well. Let's talk about the younger version of Saru in this movie, because he's the Saru that we get invested in at the beginning of the story. The young actor is named Sunny. I'm just going to point to the last name because I always have trouble with last names for almost any actor or actress. He was really good as a young child actor, and I don't know how old the actual actor is, but he plays a 5-year-old in this film, and he does look the part. So I don't know how young this boy actually is, or if he knew what was going on because of his young age. But I have to say, not only was he a very cute kid and very comical when he needed to be, when he was supposed to be adorable and cute, he actually felt like he had some depth to his acting range. I know that's really strange to say, but let's face it, there's some child actors out there that really are just there to be cute, and when it starts off with him just being cute, and then gets to this point where he is lost in the city and all alone and in real danger, it shows on his face, and it shows that when he goes to Australia and how alien the world is and how he's unable to communicate with his new parents, but shows some real depth. It was pretty amazing. Now there's probably a lot of child actors that can do better, but then again, what we got was pretty damn good. So now let's jump to the older versions of these characters, which is 20 years later, because when he's in Australia, it suddenly jumps to 20 years later, and now Saru is played by Dev Patel, which he's really amazing as well. Now, I haven't seen a lot of movies with Dev Patel in them, but everything I've seen him in, I've really enjoyed. Now, I know his major breakthrough was Slumdog Millionaire, but to be honest, that's one of those Oscar-nominated movies. Well, actually, it won the Oscar for Best Picture, I believe. But it's one of those that I haven't seen yet. I think, honestly, the first time I saw Dev Patel was actually The Last Airbender, which, admittedly, he was the best part of that movie. Whether you think he was over the top in the movie, he played the best Zuko that I could have imagined. So whenever he's in a movie, he's a delight to see, and he was really great in this movie. I'm glad he is nominated for an acting award, but it is kind of strange that he's considered a supporting actor, even though he's the main character of the film. Is it because pretty much half of the film is the young Suro, and then the other half is him as an older, and that qualifies as supporting? I don't know. It's kind of weird. And of course, the other big actresses in this film is Rooney Mara and Nicole Kidman. I thought both of them did really amazing as well. I love Dev Patel and Rooney Mara's chemistry. Whenever they were lovey-dovey, whenever they were fighting, it felt genuine, it felt real. They played off each other really well, and Nicole Kidman is marvelous as the Australian mother in this film. To be honest, she has a very small supporting role in this film and probably more of an unforgiving role, but I have to say, whenever she's in a scene, she kills it, and she's the star of that scene. Now, I really do love the story, and it is crazy to me to think that this is based off of a true story, and this kid, this person who was 5 years old, had to go through the things he did in Calcutta. This movie, even though it's dealing with a character that's 5 years old at the beginning of the film, it doesn't shy away from the danger and some of the things that he has to go through. Whether it's fighting to survive in the streets or running away from people that want to take him away and do who knows what to him. Like, there's a scene where he is in the subway and he's with these other kids that are lost and look like they have no family, and he hangs out with them for a bit, only for a bunch of people to sneak in and try to take them all away to who knows where. It's really crazy, it's gritty, it's seedy, it's really creepy and thrilling. Hell, this poor kid can't trust anyone because a lot of people want to take him away and do stuff. I was also surprised just how much of the film was him at a younger age before he even ends up in Australia, because I thought the majority of the film would be him as an adult trying to find out where he came from. But no, the whole journey before he even gets to Australia is almost half of the film. At least it felt like it was half of the film. And I honestly really like that in the film, and there's some really amazing stuff in that first half. Mainly because that's the half where it really slows down and really shows depth and really shows it in detail. I also liked how the film went a little bit psychological when Dev Patel was remembering his past and being haunted by visions of his brother and him as a younger age. I keep trying to pull him back to the past and try to search for where he came from. I loved how they did it in this movie because it's not so over the top and crazy, but it's not really subtle either, and I have to say, there are people that probably will be confused during these visions, but for the majority of us, if we know their visions, we can tell right away, alright, he is haunted by his past. Now, when I saw this, it was a really crowded theater, and I have a feeling that some people didn't understand the visions and thought they were happening for real. Because it's not one of those films that really stresses whether it's real or not. You just know from seeing it. I really love the score of this film. It's really elegant, it's really beautiful, and when it's put in certain scenes, it feels like the score has a totally different meaning without it actually changing. Sometimes when it's put in a scene, it feels haunting. Sometimes it feels fantastical. Sometimes it feels inspirational and uplifting, without the score feeling like it changed for that purpose. It felt like it was the same score. It sounded like the same score. The cinematography was beautiful, especially when it showed the landscapes of India and Australia. And when it was dark and seedy and disgusting when it was in Calcutta. during the moments where he is lost and on the streets and scared for his life. And ultimately, the film does have a message about lost children and children living on the streets, and it has a message at the end talking about how many kids are on the streets during either Calcutta or whole of India or even the world. I can't remember the exact what it said, but it said it was like 80,000 something kids. The film definitely has a focus, it definitely has a meaning, and I have to say there are many times in this film where I did get teary-eyed. It's a pretty emotional film and it affected me. Now I consider Patriots Day a 2017 film as well because of its wide release in January. That got me teary-eyed a few times, but not as much as Lion, that's for sure. Definitely my favorite two films of the year so far. Split being a very close third, which I haven't reviewed that either. As much as I love this film and want to go into detail about all the things I loved about it, I can't really go into too much detail because I want you to experience the film for yourself. But I do have two things that I want to talk about in terms of the bad or things that some people might not like. Now, I had no issue with what I'm about to say here, but I know there are people out there that might take issue to this, and that is that the film halfway through, or at least the first half of the film, is all subtitled. Again, I have no problem seeing films, foreign language films, that are in subtitles throughout the entirety. But I know there are people out there that don't want to see foreign language films because it has subtitles. They'd rather see a dubbed version of those movies. They don't want to read the screen the whole time, they want to see everything. And for the first half of the movie, give or take, it is set in India, it is all in subtitles. I'm sure they wanted to keep the language as authentic as possible. So if you're not a fan of foreign language films or having to read subtitles, I'll give you a little warning here. For the first half of the film, maybe, I think it was the whole first half of the film, it is in subtitles. But the only real issue I had with the film, which isn't that big of an issue because I still absolutely love the film, and I understand that the focus is more on his past rather than his present, and that is the pacing was really off once it got through with the younger stuff. Once it got to Australia, it went by really fast and there was a lot of time jumps that felt a little unnecessary. Now I definitely understand the time jump to when he's 25 years old, give or take. Yeah, the whole 20 years later jump, that makes total sense. But as slowed down and detailed as the first half of the film was, I wish they had a little bit more of a slower pace during the Australia moments. And I understand the focus is about the past and him trying to discover where he came from. I just wish they would have shown a little bit more of him developing in Australia and him developing a relationship with Rooney Mara and his Australian parents, where we could see some conflict of him in his present and being haunted by his past. I think that conflict, his internal conflict, would have been really fleshed out more if we got to see a little bit more fleshing out of his relationships in Australia. It feels like the character development and the character relationships were a little too fast-paced for this movie when it was in Australia. Now, I'm not saying it's fully developed at all. There is development, there's subtlety in it, and there's some really great stuff in it that kept me invested for sure. I just feel that there could have been a little bit more detail and a little bit more fleshing out in those areas. Other than that, it is a near damn perfect film, and I am really close to giving this movie a 5-star. But because I had some issues with the relationship development in the Australia part, I'm going to unfortunately give Lion 4.5 stars. Again, it is really close to 5 stars. It's probably more of 4 3/4. But I don't do quarter stars, so I have to either round down or round up. And because it's not a perfect film, I have to round down. Or at least perfect in my eyes. Some other people might find it perfect, and that is totally understandable. This is an amazing film. So, did you see Lion? What'd you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you haven't seen Lion, then what is your favorite film that's being nominated for the Oscars this year for Best Picture? Alright, so the movies nominated for Best Picture right now are La La Land, Arrival, Lion, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, Moonlight, Hacksaw Ridge, Manchester by the Sea, and Fences. What is your favorite out of those nominations? In my personal opinion, my favorite of these 9 movies was Hacksaw Ridge. However, the film that I feel is Best Picture out of these 9 is Moonlight. If I were to just go by pure favorites rather than what I feel is the Best Picture, my favorites would be Hacksaw Ridge, then Moonlight, then Hell or High Water, then Arrival. Now, Hell or High Water or Arrival could get switched around because I like them pretty equally. Then Lion, then Fences, then Manchester by the Sea, then La La Land, which unfortunately, well, I know a lot of people love it, but I don't like it as much. I really do like it still. It's probably going to be more of a 4-star movie for me, but it's probably going to win Best Picture. I'm almost 90% sure that it's going to win Best Picture. Then my least favorite, which I still really like, and I have a review for it and gave it 4 stars, is Hidden Figures. So every one of these 9 films have 4 stars or higher for me, so this is a really solid list. But that's just how I feel. What are your favorite movies from the movies nominated for Best Picture of this year? So if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015, 2016, or more of 2017. Hopefully more to come. And as always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.